Nearly 2 years after President Bola Tinubu ordered the recall of all Nigerian ambassadors from missions across the globe, the country's foreign service remains in a state of paralysis with no new appointments made to fill the 109 vacant positions. And of course, this prolonged absence of appointed envoys has sparked growing concern among foreign policy experts and citizens alike, particularly as Nigeria faces an increasingly complex international landscape. From escalating tensions in the Middle East to shifts in global trade and diplomacy, observers say the vacuum has left Africa's largest economy without a clear international voice.
President Tinubu, who assumed office in May 2023, recalled all diplomats in September of that year, but has yet to name replacements. While the Ministry of Foreign Affairs has attributed the delay to funding constraints, critics argue that excuse has worn thin. Now, following the removal of fuel and electricity subsidies and the floating of the naira, government revenues have risen significantly, casting doubts on claims of financial limitations. But in the interim, Tinubu has taken on the role of Nigeria's chief diplomat, embarking on at least 36 international trips to secure investments and strengthen bilateral ties. Well, the president claims these trips have attracted $50 billion in promised investments. However, analysts warn that without ambassadors in place to follow up on these commitments, they risk remaining unfulfilled. We do have global affairs analyst Collins Nweke, who joins us here and now. Welcome and good morning.
Very good morning to you, Joe. Olive and Buenga, thank you for having me.
Good morning to you, Mr. Collins Nweke.
All right, so it's been 2 years and counting since President assumed office, yet we do not have ambassadors. How worrying is this? And do you think it has any diplomatic implication for Nigeria?
Oh, well, obviously, it does have, diplomatic impact, negative one, I must add. And here is Nigeria once again making history, global history, for the wrong reasons. I mean, when I got invitation, for this conversation, I just decided to do, a table research to see if there are places in the world where there is a, comparable example of a vacuum in diplomatic missions across the world. It will surprise you to know that I didn't find anyone that has been, so largely reported as the case of Nigeria. So, in other words, it doesn't exist anywhere. Yes, we have, some sort of delays during regime changes or austerity periods. For instance, in emerging economies where, they are undergoing reforms or currency crisis, they sometimes differ postings, but rarely has there been something in the scale that Nigeria is seeing now, like Olive reported, nearly 2 years now, and it is unacceptable. And essentially, Nigeria is not, is not present in a number of international fora, but also driving some of those, deals, some of those MOUs and so on and so forth that the president has been sealing in the 36 trips that he's gone through. Now, diplomats, are meant to pursue those deals and follow them through. So yes, there may have been commitments, but those commitments are lying fallow because the ambassadors who have the clout, who have the official note to actually pursue them and follow them up are simply absent, and so that is not happening.
So what would you say, what picture does this paint, looking beyond the impact of this, what picture does this paint about us as a country? And how much pass? Because right now, there are no ambassadors who have the chargé d'affaires who is standing in gap, these diplomats who are maybe standing in gap for the ambassadors, pending when the government will decide to reinstate them. We're not even quite sure exactly what happened. I don't know if you have any insight as to why the president decided to terminate the appointment of these ambassadors 4 months into office. Do we have, this is a multi-layered question I've asked you. So do we have an idea why he terminated the ambassadorship 4 months into his office? And what picture does this paint about us as a nation?
Well, the information out there is what we can rely on. I mean, none of us is an insider. You do have, conversations with those who are in a position to know, but some of those things are more or less classified. So, in summary, what I can say is that based on the information that the Foreign Affairs Minister has pushed out there, this is intentional. It is intentional because, according to government, it is part of, the post-inauguration reforms that is, taking place. But there is something quite ironical about, this reform because, I mean, we keep hearing of very, very huge expenditures, be it, financing the, presidential infrastructure things, for instance, the vice president's residence. I mean, the guy doesn't live in a place or work in a place where the roof is, falling over, and when it rains, it pours on him. No. So those are also matters of priority. And then we also hear of, SUVs, for legislators and all sorts of white elephant projects. So I think it's more of Nigeria not getting its priorities right. Because on the one hand, you have a very, very solidly written and well-articulated, foreign policy mantra under the 4P foreign policy, mantra. And that's on the one hand, beautiful, well-articulated. But on the other hand, you don't have people, ambassadors with the clout and the note to actually drive them. So these are paradoxes that sometimes, confuse the international community because Nigeria has ambition. For instance, they want to be, they want to have a permanent seat in the UN Security Council. I mean, look at BRICS, for instance. These are fora where one of the, major conditions for obtaining, such favor or at least a privilege is the fact that you have a permanent representation. Nigeria hasn't got that, and so sometimes the impression is created that Nigeria is kind of chasing shadows.
Now, Mr. Collins Nweke, some will argue that, I mean, the president is taking the role of the chief diplomat. Can the president's personal diplomacy compensate for institutional absence? That's one question. And the second leg of my question is, what does this diplomatic vacuum for the thousands of Nigerians in the diaspora who rely on these missions for consular services, protection, and economic engagement mean? And do you have any personal examples of your interaction with the Nigerian embassy in Brussels?
I will start with the last question. I mean, there is no point in being dramatic about some of these things. I must tell you that consular services, at least here in Brussels where I am, has not been negatively impacted by, the absence of ambassadors because, you do have consular officers in place. You do have, chargé d'affaires and all of that. So when, for instance, passports expire or people who are on transit, they are traveling and they encounter problems, they need travel certificate and all of that, those are no issues. So those consular services, they are going well because they are well manned, and the chargé d'affaires and the consular officers do have the authority to sort all of those out. So on that front, there is no problem. And I say this out of experience because I've had one or two people who have either been stranded or are traveling home and have to renew their passport and so on and so forth. They have done that seamlessly at the embassy. I don't know what the story might be in other places. Now, coming to the president taking on the role of the chief diplomat of Nigeria, well, that's fantastic. And he has been very, very energetic in doing that. I mean, we are reminded of his, shuttle diplomacy. We are reminded of President Obasanjo when we see the shuttle diplomacy that, President Tinubu is undertaking, because at that time also Nigeria, saw such. But the point is this, Wenga. When the president goes out there, uses his influence and his personality and his position to seal deals, those MOUs, bilateral agreements and so on and so forth, they are at the macro level. Now, the micro level is actually the ambassadors that then follow through those deals that have been promised, not secured. So it is the role of the ambassadors to secure the deals that the president has sealed when he travels. The absence of ambassadors means that they are not followed through and they are not, actually implemented. Now, I'll give you one example in closing on this. Recently, there was a diplomatic dinner organized, somewhere where, Belgian, Luxembourg, business people were really warming up to meet, Nigeria, because every ambassadorial post, different countries of the world, they had their own table and all of that. The only country that was absent on the table was Nigeria, and it created a whole lot of disappointment, because a number of businesses in renewable energy and so on and so forth were on hand, looking forward. So we're having interaction with the ambassador, but there wasn't one, and nobody attended. But also on the human level, you also see some increasing level of unprofessional conduct, aggressions, and all of that amongst the officers. And linked to this is also payment of their own salaries and all of that. So I mean, there's a whole lot of disillusionment, and we can't take them for granted, really.
Well, one of the questions that comes to mind is the fact that 2 years and counting, we're expecting that by now the president would have announced a list and names of ambassadors, although some names were touted a few months ago where Nigerians single-handedly decided to go on all social media to pick whom they thought would actually play the role of the ambassadors, especially for each country. But now that we've seen that this hasn't happened yet, is it possible that the president can run his entire 4 years without having any ambassadors? And if that happens, or should that happen, will there be any form of implication, especially for this administration?
Well, if that happens, for a start, it will be, making the wrong history, because I don't know where that happened. Now, I have, in the course of my intervention so far, highlighted some of the negative impacts. Now, it is to be expected that the diplomatic deficit that is being created with the conspicuous absence of ambassadors will actually be, overwritten when ambassadors are actually appointed. Because very quickly, I mean, knowing the crop of, foreign service officers that Nigeria is blessed with, I know, and I am very, very confident that once in position, they will be able to do their level best to see that some of these deficits are actually, wiped away. Of course, some damages may be, too late to actually take care of. Now, imagine a situation where the problem continues for another 2 years. Well, I think very, very many irreparable damages would have been done to Nigeria's international standing, but also some of the promised, investments into Nigeria will never see the light of day because they have not been followed up on. So it can only be imagined if it ever happens I mean, Nigeria would then, be etched in history book as the laughingstock of the world diplomatically.
Now, Mr. Collins Nweke, before we wrap up, I need to ask you this question. It's a very loaded question. We seem to have a reputational problem. Just this morning, I was going through Twitter and I saw this tweet by a popular travel content creator. He does a fantastic job. His name is Stephen Nduku. He says, and I quote, this is the tweet: "If you are a Nigerian going to other people's country and messing things up, God will punish you 100-fold. For the stupid things you do, millions of innocent people have to pay for it." And under the comments, there were lots of comments under that tweet. Some blamed the government, some blamed politicians, and others blamed Nigerians. There's a video that is emanating on social media of Nigerian cultists in Turkey, in Istanbul, fighting themselves. Very disgraceful. And we've seen this in Dubai. And country after country seems to be tightening their noose on Nigerians. And if you, you just need to listen to Nigerians that share their travel experience. NIDCOM, the Nigerian Diaspora Commission, is doing a good job. They're trying their best, but people still go out there to make life harder for upright and upstanding Nigerians. What's your take on this? Whose fault is it? Should the host country, like Belgium, for example, do a better job in screening the type of Nigerians they're letting into their countries? Or is it the fault of politicians, like so many Nigerians have said it? Or is it we, the people, need to do a better job as ambassadors for our nation?
Nigerians are not different from other nationalities in the world. Nigeria happens to be the, largest black population in the world. It is said that 1 in 4 or 5 black persons in the world is Nigeria. So we are prominent. Now, what you seek is what you find. If you are out there seeking only the bad behaving Nigerians, that's what you will find. If you are out there seeking good behaved Nigerians, professionals, young people excelling, second and third generation Nigerians who are surgeons, who are IT experts, artificial intelligence, accountants, bankers, and all of that, you have them in quantum. Now, Nigerians have no reason out here in the diaspora to bury their heads in shame because an insignificant number are actually spoiling their names. No, when they point you to the bad example, point them to the good example. Now, generally, I think it's a very good thing, of course, for Nigeria to continue that work of, cleaning up image, preaching good behavior, and so on and so forth. But we have no reasons as Nigerians to feel that those who put all Nigerians in one box as bad people are right. They're not right. They are completely wrong because there are a lot of good things going for Nigeria that are capable of wiping out the few bad things that are out there. But it is all a matter of projection. Most Nigerians out here will choose to project the good of Nigeria. And those who choose to project, the negative side of Nigeria, good luck to them. But I don't think Nigerians have any reasons to bury their heads in shame.
Thank you very much for clarifying the
Thank you so
on
much.
that and for your fantastic opinion.